What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Carpool Gaming's The PlayStation Drive. My name is Matt, and I'll be your host for today's events. I'm joined, as always, by the Supreme Court of Canada himself, Mr. Court Lalonde. What's up, Court?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm feeling edgy. I'm feeling like I want to grow my hair out and sweep it over my eyes. I want to go dancing on the street. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm about, as we just discussed. I think I'm, according to the PlayStation 5, it says that I'm 50% through. I've put 15 hours into the game.
Okay.
But as we discussed, also I have I'm not leaving anything. Like there is no side quest. There's nothing else on the map that I can do right now at the point I'm in the game. I've almost got all of the spider bots. I've got 3 more left to collect. Yeah, I
Well,
have issues.
I have all of the spider bats, so man, we're going to talk all about Spider-Man very, very soon. But on this week's show, obviously, we're going to be talking all things Spider-Man 2. We're going to be talking about a potential Venom spinoff. We're going to be talking about Iron Man. It's a Marvel-themed episode, I guess, so strap in and please be excited. But of course, first we have to clean this garage of ours. There's webs everywhere. I let Court in for 5 minutes. He left. There's just webs all over the place, sticky stuff everywhere. I don't know what he was doing in there, but this is the thing that happened when I let Court into the garage. But if you're watching us live on youtube.com/carpoolgaming right now, please like the stream, hit that bell so you're notified when we go live. Share, leave a comment, folks. We love the comments. They help us feel good. They help us do even bigger and better. So please leave us a comment. What do you think about 19 inches of Venom? Okay, this is a simple question. Just answer it in the comments below. If you're listening to us on your podcast service of choice, hit us with that 5-star review. Hit us with, hold on, wait. Court's now just telling me that my audio sounds off. Is that?
Hey,
thank you.
that's probably why so before everybody who's the audio listeners, I was putting on earbuds, and for some reason Matt was cutting in and out, and I think it's because it was going through a very bad speaker and it wasn't catching you.
Well, there we go. Now we've at least fixed the problem. Thank you for letting me know. But the podcast listeners, for you, it doesn't matter because all of the audio is probably coming in nice and clean for you guys. YouTube, sorry, the first couple minutes were a little off, but we back. But for the podcast listeners, make sure you come check out the video. I got 19 inches of Venom. I'm in a suit. Court's wearing a t-shirt. Come hang out with us here as well. But we appreciate you all very, very much. If you have extra bucks to toss our way, head to patreon.com/Carpool Gaming. Throw in tips in the old tip jar, and out comes a cornucopia of content for you to consume. But without further ado, my friend, I feel like, there may be like a high profile game that just came out that like you and I maybe have been playing on our playlist, but I'm going to just toss this out right now, folks. We're going to keep this as spoiler free as possible. We're not going to be getting into the nitty gritty of anything story or anything spoilery. So listen without fear. We're going to do our best to keep it nice and spoiler free for y'all, but Court, I'm going to toss it to you first. How are we feeling about Spider-Man 2?
Well, it's not the only thing I've been playing though.
What does anything else matter? Fine, hit me with the other stuff you've been playing first.
Oh, wow. It's going to be the same thing every single week. I've been playing NHL 24, but I've only been doing that to walk away from Spider-Man. But I think I'm really loving the game. We're going to obviously go into, I guess we could just, I've been playing NHL 24. I guess we just go into the game because that's what we've been playing. Like I said before, I'm about 15 hours, just over 15 hours playing the game. I would honestly say about 10 of those hours I have played with my daughter. Aww. So this is an amazing experience that I've been having that's different than I've ever done with a game before because of the controller assist that you're able to do on the PlayStation 5. I've been using my Spider-Man controller, but at the same time, my daughter has been able to use her purple controller. So what happens is she swings me around and brings me to everywhere. There's certain missions, and I'm not going to say that she has zero issue. We did the, I think it's Haley mission yesterday. One of the best missions. That's all I'm going to say. One of the best missions I've ever played in a video game. She loved it. She got it. She totally understood it, which was amazing. She got to do any of the times we're riding the bicycle. I let her do those missions as well. Anything that she could do, she would, and she would even try and do combat sequences. So any of the crimes, she could pretty much do them now, which is pretty impressive. Like she knows the combos, she knows the L's and R's, and pressing the buttons and doing stuff. So I've been playing pretty much my whole playthrough with her, except some on my own. But it's been awesome because she's getting to know the characters. We did a whole night last night of going on YouTube and going on the internet to figure out who Craven was, his backstory. She wanted more information about each character. He's a bad man, she said. And I'm kind of glad I actually just played a part where she wasn't around for, where I can't even, I don't even want to say, but things happen and she would have been like, oh, Craven's a very bad man. So it's been amazing. It's been spectacular. I'm loving the combat. I'm actually enamored with the DualSense functionalities and the swing. I do love how you can feel it in the triggers. And it's one of those things that PlayStation can set themselves apart from everything until Xbox does have that controller that comes out. It does add to the game, especially on the web swing when you feel it. But I do find myself web winging like is nobody's business and doing that more than anything else. I've been going through and collecting trophies. I'm going to definitely 100% platinum it. I think all I have to really do is do story beats and collect 3 more spider bots. And then everything else that the trophies I'm going to get are all story related. So I'll definitely have the platinum when I finish this game. The map is a lot bigger and takes a lot longer than I expected. So I knew that we were going to have the 2 maps put together, but at the same time, I'm like, well, it probably won't take that long. And it does take a pretty long time from going side to side. But with that amazing fast travel of just going there, pressing the button and then just swinging in, which is unbelievable, it is very easy to get around the map. But at the same time, they have made a very vibrant, a very live map. The NPCs say different things. You actually can see people inside buildings watching TV or having conversations and such. I've been looking for little tiny Easter eggs by that. I haven't found any yet, but you know it's there. No one's just found it yet. I'm sure in one of these apartment buildings, there's like 2 devs having a conversation and we get to like in on it. The amount of cats and stuffed animals in this game is amazing, which has also made my daughter extremely happy. We've been taking pictures of all the cats. We already got Miles' suit with Spider-Man on his back. And all the stuffed animals that we've been finding. The relationship between Peter and Harry is just evolving for me, and I'm very curious. The actor, and I don't know his name right now. I didn't write it down. Who plays Harry has done a phenomenal job. It's actually been a highlight to me on how well of a job he's done. And I'm very interested to see where the art goes. As I said, I'm only halfway through. The collectibles and such are what they are. The side missions are great, but I will say there are some that I'm like, yeah, I could have done without them. Some of them just it kind of got to me, and I'm like, really? All right. And for people, there is Mary Jane missions again. It is what it is, but they're not as cumbersome. I would use I think is a good way to describe them. And then what else I got? Spider-Bots, Craven Cat. Craven, wow. As a character, wow. He is definitely a villain. He is definitely the scariest villain I've ever had in a Spider-Man game. And I will say this, I think they've done a phenomenal job of the story itself doesn't feel bloated, and it's captivating, and it feels like I'm watching a movie as I'm playing a video game.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think the game has like completely blown me away so far. I went into this game knowing I was going to like it. Obviously, it's another Insomniac Spider-Man game. Us liking it, it being great is a given. Like that's not a problem. And I think for me, like coming into it, I was like, listen, as much as excited as I am for this game, and as excited as I am to play it, like Baldur's Gate 3 was such a huge experience for me. I don't see how this game is going to take it down, and it has. Spider-Man 2 is my current game of the year. I'm about 15 hours in. I'm pretty much the exact same point story-wise as Court. I've probably done a little bit less on the side content, but I've been, I've collected all the spider bots. That is one thing that I did because I just needed to see where it went. And then I have done a bunch of the side content. I think this is bar none some of my favorite side content in any video game ever. Like some of it has made me cry. Some of it has hit me like straight in the heart. And the thing is,
Howard,
everything. I haven't done that one yet. So I haven't done that one yet.
You're not even there yet.
There was some other stuff that just like crushed me. Like absolutely crushed me.
Especially stuff that I did with Emma. It's powerful, right?
Yeah, like some of it, like the stuff that you did with Emma was incredible. But there was another mission there that all I'm gonna say is that like because all you're given is find Grandpa, and that mission destroyed me.
Really?
Like absolutely, yeah.
Timing is everything, right?
Exactly, right. So like it absolutely destroyed me. The combat feels fantastic. The game is definitely tougher than what came before, and I am okay with that. I feel like I've got like coming back to the Spider-Man was like riding a bike. Within like a couple minutes, I like everything that I wanted to do, I was doing again.
Can we never
It
do that in
felt,
a video game again, though?
what do you mean?
Riding bikes.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah, but like I don't know. I feel like I understand the complaint, maybe not complaints, but the criticism that was lodged toward it with like the first act being kind of slow. I really liked all of the setup. I can see where the game is going. I understand what it's trying to do, and so far, I don't think I have literally nothing negative to say about this game except for one thing, which I'll get to in a little bit. But I think the side content is all fantastic. I think a lot of the collectible stuff. I love actively being in that world. I think I've used the fast travel like twice just because I always opt to move through the city, hitting crimes along the way, picking up whatever side content I can as I go, rather than using the fast travel just because I enjoy moving through the city that much. I'm making a very conscious effort to balance out the web wings with the swinging because I really love the swinging and like the kind of ground traversal in terms of like the flips and like the jump off points.
And
so I'm trying to
this is trophy.
Yeah. So I'm trying to do as much as I can in terms of like being very conscious of how I'm moving, but like everything that they're doing with the characters, I've had some genuine surprises so far. I'm very, very, very excited to go because I think where you and I pretty much are as like the beginning of Act 3, I would call it. So I'm pretty sure we're like we're towards now the back half of the game. I love everything that they're doing, especially a lot of the side content, and this is what I really liked about a lot of it that came before as well. Insomniac just understands Spider-Man. They're not all giant grandiose missions that are, fight down, they take out this villain or do this thing, this, that, or the other. They're very human. They're dealing with the community. A lot of Miles' missions are focused on helping the people that are around him. And it's the same thing with Peter. There's just a genuine heart to a lot of the writing and a lot of the presentation that is just Spider-Man through and through. So for me, I'm absolutely loving it. I don't want it to end, but I also can't stop playing it. I also just like I really want to see what's around the corner, but at the same time, I want to just kind of slow down, but at the same time, I don't. Like I'm stuck in this catch-22 of like all I want to do is play. All I'm doing is thinking about this game.
I think I'll be done in like a couple days. Like not even like I have to be on the road the next 2 days, but like I'm with you. I'm playing it as soon as right before I go to bed. I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm playing it for an hour before my kid gets up. Like I not stop playing this game.
100%, and it's just like it's so good. So like to Insomniac, to the entire cast and crew, to all the developers, thank you. Like this game is genuinely incredible. I am absolutely loving my time with it. And it's pretty much all I've been playing. I've been playing a bunch of Mario Wonder with my partner as well. Wonderful, beautiful. The animation's great. Really enjoying it. But like Spider-Man is just completely like eating me alive right now. I can't stop.
It's interesting you say that because my daughter originally asked for Mario Wonder for her birthday, but I bought those ticket things. So I'm like, I turned to my wife. I'm like, whatever. It was family fun night, and on Friday night we watched a movie, and then on Saturday night we're like, well, what are you gonna do? And my wife's like, well, I don't want to play Spider-Man. My daughter and I like, well, we really want to. We're like, all right, you know what? We'll get Mario Wonder. So I used one of my tickets, and we got Mario Wonder, and we started playing it, and we played it for about an hour. And my daughter like elbows me, and she goes, "This is great and all, but it would be really good." She's like, if we went and played Spider-Man. And I just looked at my wife and was like, yeah, so we're going to go play video games and just figure out what you're going to do. So on Saturday night, my daughter and I played it for like 2 hours. She just loves swinging around the world and finding things. So that was the interesting part of getting a lot of the collectibles. My daughter just wants to go do it. It's like she's like made for Ubisoft games. She's like, I can just go to this part on the map. She's like, just tell me where I need to go. And she wants to find everything. We watched a video on how to do the trophy, to do the web wing and not touch the ground from one side to the other, plus going across.
Yep.
So she's like, I want to do it. I'm like, okay. It took her about 6 tries. She pulled it off. She popped that trophy.
Nicely done.
Yeah. So she watched the video and she was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. Because we're just trying to do it without it. And you know what? I don't got time for this. I want to be able to play the. So it's like, all right, let's just go get this trophy. And we were able to figure it out. I was like, this is pretty impressive. She loves going to the top of the tallest buildings and then jumping off. And then when she learned about the web wings, she thought it was the greatest thing that's ever been invented in a video game.
Yeah, dude, I'm super excited to keep going with it. I'm sure we'll both be done by next week's show. Like I have no doubt in my mind that I'll be finishing this as soon as possible.
I'm definitely going to be done.
And similarly, like I'm going for the platinum. I'm not usually one that chases the platinums, but I've gotten in every other Spider-Man game multiple times at this point now. So I'm back in. But let's stay on this Spider-Man train as we roll over on to talk about some news, because coming from our friends over at Console Creatures, Spider-Man 2 has now sold 2.5 million copies on PS5 in the first 24 hours, earning the title fastest selling PlayStation Studio game in PlayStation's history. With the weekend over, we got sales data for Marvel Spider-Man 2, with PlayStation revealing on Twitter that Sony's most recent first-party PlayStation exclusive has sold 2.5 million copies in its first 24 hours after the title officially went on sale. Marvel's Spider-Man original, released in 2018, nearly 5 years after the PS4's launch, sold 3.3 million copies. We don't have exact apples-to-apples comparison data in terms of its first 3 days, but obviously it's the fastest selling game so far. It's off to a huge start, and this is written by Dennis Price. So, Court, sitting on one console, only on the PS5, this thing is already coming out the gate, absolutely swinging. Do you think it overtakes Spider-Man 1 sales?
I think it does. Well, I'm more curious that if it takes God of War in its first week, because God of War was on PS4 and PS5 on Ragnarok, and that was the original.
Yeah.
And
it sold 5.1
only on this. So we have in July they said that they had 40 million consoles sold. So we're probably guessing around another 10 million's probably been sold in that time. So they got about 50 million consoles. You got 2.5 million that had purchased it in the first 24 hours. So I would think it's going to be hard for it to beat Spider-Man, to be totally honest, because you got Spider-Man and Spider-Man.
To beat God of War.
God of War, I think it beats God of War. But I'm talking about it. So, you said Spider-Man, if it beats Spider-Man, the original.
Yeah, but in its entire of its life cycle, that's what I mean.
I still think it's gonna be tough because you've got Spider-Man and Spider-Man Remastered, right? People bought that thing twice.
True.
So it's gonna be tough for them to beat those numbers. I think it does beat God of War Ragnarok though, and God of War Ragnarok was on 2 consoles.
Yeah, so God of War sold 5.1 million units in its first week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see whether it eclipses that. But yeah, dude, obviously off to a huge start. It's been a minute since we've had a new PlayStation first party game. So this thing is obviously flying off the shelves. People were hungry for it. Massive success. I'm going to guess, Court, that we're going to get more Spider-Man content from Insomniac.
Well, it's not in our agenda, but Brian Indahar was saying to IGN today, and I saw it all over the internet, is he wouldn't be surprised for himself that if the third iteration, it was some sort of a Captain America versus Iron Man type idea. So that's what he is saying right now. And then we also had, that I put in the article there, that they're, hinting at possibly a Venom game in between this and the next iteration of number 3. Now, I'm only halfway through this story, and I'm not going to give away anything, but I'm already just like, oh my God, what are they going to do? And I'm only halfway through.
Well, let's bring that story in right now, because coming from Insider Gaming, written by Mike Straw, Insomniac teases Venom game after Spider-Man 2. Could a standalone Venom game be on the way after Marvel Spider-Man 2? According to senior narrative director John Paquette at Insomniac, it's a possibility. In an interview with Insider, Paquette hinted at a potential spin-off game centered around Venom now that Spider-Man 2 is out the door. I want this to be one of the best Venom stories you've ever experienced. We'll see what the reviewers had to say, he said. He continued, so here's what we're doing. We're focused on Spider-Man 2, and we're going to wait to see how the fans react. We're going to listen to the fans, and we're going to ask ourselves, okay, what do the fans really want? We'll kind of talk about stuff after we've all had time to sleep and take vacations. So I'm with you. We haven't really experienced Venom at all in the game yet. So in terms of where the story heads and what they're going to do with this character is an unknown for us. But I think when I think of Spider-Man games, I think of Ultimate Spider-Man, which was one of my favorite Spider-Man games, and gave you the Spider-Man story and it gave you the Venom story. And playing as Venom was such a blast. And I would love to see a side story based on you're a Spider-Man Miles Morales game focused on Venom. I think it'd be super, super dope. I think obviously the physicality is a much different thing, and even just the hints that we've gotten to how much Peter hulks out essentially in that symbiote suit. I can only imagine how satisfying it would be to just mow through enemies as Venom. But Court, is this what you want next from Insomniac?
I don't want a Venom game. No. But I haven't played or been introduced to the character. So right now in my mind, I'm I don't want to be the villain. I'm not a big fan of being the villain in a video game at all. So for me right now, it's a no. And that's solely because I've still got my hopes that we get a Spider-Gwen game, but I know, Insomniac's pretty much killed that and said that ain't gonna happen either. But for me, no. But if we get it, am I gonna play it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
we're gonna be.
I would be very interested in what Insomniac would do with the game because they've done such a phenomenal job in Spider-Man 2 with the story so far. That you know what, I have to give them the benefit of the doubt and be like, they're gonna do something phenomenal with it.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you. I'm curious to see what's gonna happen. What we're gonna get next out of Insomniac. But right now, obviously, take a break, relax, enjoy. Oh, the one thing that I forgot to actually mention, talking about Spider-Man 2, and I'm gonna bring this up now. I have had quite a few bugs with the game. I had a couple quests that broke mid-mission, and I had to basically reload checkpoints to be able to thing. Miles at one point just turned into like what looked like a sugar cube, and I was just swinging around as a sugar cube. And then I've had a couple.
You have bad luck with video games.
I usually don't, dude. That's the thing. It's just the last couple experiences between Assassin's Creed and now Spider-Man that I've had some bad luck because, like, it's been nothing that's like I've heard people talking about how it's crashed their console and stuff. I've had nothing to that extent. But like when there was a boss fight where I was playing the most recent one that you and I spoke of. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the villain that I was fighting jumped up and just got stuck in a tree. And I couldn't do anything to hit them out. They couldn't come back out. There was nothing that I could do. They were just stuck in this tree. So I've had a few things like that where like I've had a cutscene where the audio just disappeared. I had a cutscene where Peter's model just disappeared and it was just invisible. So I've had a couple things that like, despite that, I am absolutely loving the game, and none of these things like I was just kind of like restart the checkpoint and continued on. Nothing like that hindered my experience. But I have had like more bugs with this game than I've had with any of the other Insomniac games prior. So that is just one thing to flag.
I had one little thing that happened when we were at Coney Island. I was in a battle, and the enemies didn't move. Like they just stood there, and I could just beat them up, and whatever. But I think it is what it is. It's unfortunate. Hopefully they patch it and fix it. But I think what we're seeing on the internet from one side to the other in this console warring stuff is almost getting to the point where I can't take it anymore.
Dude.
And like I am unfollowing people that are liking or retweeting any of it and adding to the fire because I'm at the point where you could tell it's Xbox. It's one side, right? It's all these people on the Xbox side going, "Hey, you know, this game is trash, blah blah blah." Someone just called the game overrated in our chat. Like you have all this stuff going on, and I'll never ever understand it. Like there are prominent Xbox people that I am seeing them retweet and add to this fire of, you know, this game is trash and ha 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 and doing all this stuff. And like Starfield has a million bugs, but it's still a good game. Like I don't understand. I don't know a game that doesn't come out nowadays that doesn't have bugs. I'm not making excuses for the game. What you're saying, if that happened to me, I'd be extremely frustrated. But I think what we're seeing on the internet is gotten to the point of disgusting. And it's interesting because I got asked a question by Nagachaka about comparing it to sports. Like which fan base is more toxic? And I'll still say that the sports fan base is toxic because they'll go to someone's house and all that kind of stuff. And they'll hit people in public, all that kind of stuff. In the video game world, it's just they're going after, it's almost like they're console to console, which is very interesting, but it's more cowardly, I would almost say, in the video game world. Like these to love a console that much that you spend every minute of your energy to put out hate and vitriol towards the other side and trying to prove a point that doesn't really exist is just sad.
Dude, it's exhausting. I've been very liberal with the block button the last few days. Just because, again, similarly, like there was a person that was like, and I'm not going to name names or anything here, but that they were basically like hoping that more negative reviews hit so that way they literally said like the Insomniac's been celebrating so much that they got one of their first 90 plus games, and that, you know, like I hope that it drops under 90 to take that away from them. And it's just like, what did these people who are literally just trying to do their job and make the best product that they can, what did they do to offend you personally so much that you wish that kind of unwell on them? And the part of the problem is too, is that now on X and Twitter is that the clickbait, the hate stuff literally makes you money. So there's a lot of people who are literally putting it out there who are now trying to just get a paycheck from it. So I've just been very liberal with the block button. People are like, look, you can see through the windows and it's the same person on floor 1 on floor 4. Like, get bent. I'm sorry. If you have so much time in your day that you can spend, like, go.
Hey, but they still bought the game, which is the best part. Like that's even more people will spend money on something they hate than something they love.
Dude, there was like a post that I saw that was like that called out like 3 essential like very PlayStation Pro accounts and 3 very Xbox Pro accounts, and saying how like when a Starfield launched, the PlayStation accounts, let's say, had like 15 people between them. Like 15 tweets between them on launch day. The top 3 Xbox accounts had like 200 like Spider-Man tweets. It's just exhausting. So it's just like it's absolutely ridiculous on both sides, regardless of who it is. It's just one side does feel louder than the other. And like, I'm just going to say it, like in my mind, PlayStation's first party library, even still, far outweighs anything that Xbox has put out in years. So it's just like, it is what it is. People are going to, people have their preferences, and that's fine. But it's just like, why go through so much effort to wish unwell on people who are literally doing nothing but doing their best to give a product that they feel proud of and that they care about? So I'm with you, dude. Like, I've just been like, I've hit a point now where I'm just blocking it. And there's nothing wrong with leveling fair criticism at a game.
100%.
There's nothing wrong with talking about talking about bugs, talking about things that you wish you could have been better, decisions that were made that you didn't vibe with. There's absolutely nothing wrong with leveling that out there, as long as you're not rude and you're not a dick about it. But these accounts go out of their way to be rude, to be hateful, genuinely awful people, to just try and ring stuff out. And they'll be like, I'm just joking. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have enough of a following that enough people who do follow you aren't going to be like, it's a joke. They'll take it. They'll send death threats. They'll be crappy about it. So,
dude, did you see Xbox Era gave it a 4 out of 5 and people got so mad? That was like the funny.
Bro,
I saw all these people were like, oh, I need an Xbox site to review it. And then Xbox Era does, and they give it a 4 out of 5. And people, I saw it and I thought people were just going to cry now.
It's just ridiculous, dude. But again, I don't want to breathe any more friggin' oxygen into their crap. I don't want to put any more air into it. If you like a game, that's fine. If you don't like a game, that's fine. Just be cognizant of your criticism and don't be hateful for the sake of being so. It's exhausting and it's useless. Let's stay on this Marvel train though, Court, because we got a new story coming from IGN written by Ryan Dinsdale that the Iron Man game coming from EA is being developed in Unreal Engine 5, and it's now the focus. EA Motive has confirmed it's developing its upcoming Iron Man game in Unreal Engine 5 in a long-awaited update from the studio. Revealed in a blog post, EA Motive said Unreal Engine 5 will, quote-unquote, empower the dev team to work their magic and create something really special. It joins several other games like Black Myth Wukong, Tekken 8, and The Witcher remake, and using the engine, with Lords of the Fallen being one of the first major games for use that uses it on release. I'm stoked about this, dude. I think Unreal Engine 5 is beautiful. I'm sure this game is going to look incredible. I just want more. I just want to know what's going on with it. If it's anything like Anthem but good, I'm 100% in.
I just want them to make sure that they called BioWare and they were like, hey, how did you make your space people fly? Make our Iron Man fly exactly the same way, because I've said this before, like Arkham perfected the superhero combat and we get to play it in Marvel Spider-Man because, Arkham definitely started it and now everybody just copies it and it's perfect. BioWare already perfected flying in a mech suit. They've already perfected it. So please, all I'm asking is, please just contact them. So make sure that part is good. And then we'll go from there. I'm with you though. I would like to I want to know the story of it, where they're going with the game. Like, give me a story trailer. I don't care if it's all, just cutscenes. I'm fine with that. I want to know where they're taking it, because I do believe EA and BioWare, they're, same side. So I'm sure that they went there and were like, okay, you guys do the mechanics and the combat system because we've already done it. That is awesome. But I want to see if anything that we've seen from EA recently with, the Star Wars stories, when they have now done that single player story campaign and they've let them do what they're going to do. I want to see them let them do it with the Iron Man. And I think almost an origin story of Iron Man. I want to start out when you're a dick. Like, I really want to go from a dick to a hero to the anti-hero. I want that story. So I'm really hoping they do that.
So I like the thing that I'm really curious about, because I think we've had confirmation that it's open world, or at least that's kind of the running theory, is just where is this thing going to be set? We've the Stark Tower was in New York. I don't think we're going back to New York after spending 3 Spider-Man games there. I don't think we'd go back to New York. So, there is a comic run of Superior Iron Man when he goes out to the West Coast and he's basically in I think it was San Francisco. So I'd love to see something along those lines. The only thing is that like I think we'd probably see the intro stuff that you're talking about probably in flashbacks, just because I can't see them having an open world that would build in a level structure like that, unless they're going the Guardians of the Galaxy route, and this is going to be a number of levels back to back that tell that it's more focused on the story. But if they're going the open world route, then I'm guessing we see that in flashbacks, and I'd like to see somewhere like a San Francisco. Give me even like a Vegas. Give me somewhere cool that has more.
Isn't the movie he's in California? Like, isn't Iron Man 2 when his house falls into the ocean? Isn't that California?
Maybe.
Because his house falls. Remember, his house gets blown up and falls into the ocean.
Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3. Sorry.
Yeah, I think he's like. I think that was in like.
I don't want an open world Iron Man because you fly, so it's just you're just gonna have video after video of people flying into a wall and saying, "Look, you can't go any further in the map." I don't want that at all. Like, I don't want an open world Iron Man game. I want a linear, semi-open world Iron Man game. That's what I want.
Like a zone based.
Yes.
See, then the problem is I just worry that they're going to get criticism that'll be leveled like the Avengers was, because that's essentially what the Avengers game was. You had your Iron Man, you could fly, they were zones. So that would be my only worry.
Well, the criticisms with Avengers, let's be real here, with the mechanics of the game at all.
Right.
It had,
but they're gonna draw them.
The story
regardless.
of the game was actually pretty decent until they jumped the shark and decided to no longer make Kamala Khan the main character out of nowhere. And then they just ruined the story from then on. But that had more to do with like the weird like base stuff that was in the game, and like it was trying to be something that it wasn't.
Well, Save the Game is with you. He wants a linear game as well. I'm curious to see. I loved Guardians. I love Spider-Man. So whichever direction that they go in, whether it's open world or not, I just want to see more of it. Give me Mandarin. Give me the OG Mandarin as the villain here.
Yeah, not the
main
TV,
villain.
not the movie one. He was bad.
Yeah, it was not great. Well, no, the Mandarin in Shang-Chi was good. The Mandarin in Iron Man was not so good.
Agreed.
So let's move on to our next story, because coming from VGC, PlayStation has patented a controller that stores and charges wireless earbuds. The company recently announced its first wireless earbuds called Pulse Explorer. According to a patent filed by the company last week, which was spotted on Game Rant, the company is exploring giving a new controller the ability to store, charge, and pair in-ear headphones. The patent includes images showing that the earbuds could potentially be stored in several different positions on the controller, including under the touchpad, suggesting the configuration wasn't finalized when it was published. So we know that we're getting the Pulse Explorer. Mm-hmm. I think that this is cool in theory. My biggest worry is the battery, because we already have enough complaints about the DualSense and DualSense Edge's battery to then put in earbuds that are going to charge off of this thing, presumably. I think they would need to do so. They would need some new battery tech to make this work. I like this idea. I'm interested to see how it would be in practice.
I don't like it because I already think the DualSense weighs too much. So now you're going to be putting the earbud, like more mechanics in it to even weigh it down even more. I don't like this at all. Like, if my earbuds can go charge somewhere else, I don't need them to like slide up and make another component on the DualSense that can break. People always talk about stick drift. Now we're going to have, the mechanic to open up the touchpad here to start breaking, or the touchpad stop being responsive because there is now a new section where it can break from where the wires are connected. I don't like it at all. I don't think I need it. I think it's just a patent. I think a lot of companies patent a lot of things. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make them. They just want to make sure that no one else can do it unless they pay them to do it. So they put in a patent just in case, like a secondary controller, people were like, hey, we're going to do this. Fair. And then Sony can walk up and be like, cool story. You're going to pay me though.
True. Yeah. I'm curious to see if this ever comes to fruition. I'm going to bunny hop over a couple of these stories, Court, so we'll save them for next week. But what I do want to talk about is coming once again from VGC, written by Jordan Midler. PlayStation's Visual Arts appears to have suffered layoffs. Visual Arts has supported some of PlayStation's biggest franchises. Several developers have announced that they have been laid off from PlayStation's Visual Arts group. Among them, former senior level designer Daniel Bellemere wrote, "Unfortunately, following a wave of layoffs last week was my last week at PlayStation. While this is certainly not the news I was hoping for, I'm grateful to have had a chance to work amongst extremely talented colleagues on incredible projects, and I'm leaving with good memories of my time there." Bellemere is based in San Diego and was working on an unannounced project. It's unclear if he was based at PlayStation's Visual Arts Group or Sony San Diego. The San Diego-based Visual Arts Group was founded in 2007 and the goal of growing PlayStation's biggest franchises. They announced they worked on The Last of Us Part 1, and there was another couple employees that also posted that they were laid off. So, Court, what's going on here?
I think this is just the normal of this industry. It's unfortunate. It seems that every couple weeks we hear about a new studio that's doing layoffs. These games are getting a lot more expensive to make, and the profit margins are lesser and less as they're getting sold. So what is happening is you have these huge tentpole games that eat up majority of what is being purchased. And I hate to say it, because based on what we're learning about the subscription model service, that isn't helping because people aren't getting as much money as they did in the past. Even though Starfield is actually showing that it possibly could be, you could get both. But as of the statistics and what we got all from the court case and what we found out, that is not the reality in the situation. And these smaller developers and these other studios aren't getting as much. So if you're looking at PlayStation, what they're doing, they're obviously be changing direction. They went in a direction where they were going to be making all these games of service. We haven't seen much of it yet. And we're already one of the biggest ones that was going to come out, which is The Last of Us, is in purgatory right now. So I think this just sucks. Like, I feel so terrible for all the people that are losing their jobs, and it seems to be the normal in this industry. It's either, on the writing side or the content side, you can see from all these big sites, boom, they do layoffs, and it's almost like a game comes out and a couple months later, that studio lays off 10% of the people. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah, it's super unfortunate. Obviously, our hearts go out to anybody who has lost a job, and we hope you land on your feet soon. I mean, coming from a place like Visual Arts, who's worked on stuff like The Last of Us, I'm sure, I'd hope that you find, new work quickly. Yeah, it sucks, dude. I think you're kind of spot on. I think that, development times are getting longer and they're getting more drawn out. So we're getting less of these tentpole games coming, because like I mentioned, before Spider-Man 2, what was the last first party game that came out of PlayStation that wasn't a remake?
Good point. I God of War Ragnarok.
God of War Ragnarok a year ago.
No, MLB The Show. You know what? I would say that's a remake because you're changing the game each year, but it's still first party.
I mean, it is. I kind of don't think about MLB The Show the same way that I think about Ultra? The rest of the
VR.
Was that first party?
Yeah. It says when you turn on the game. I keep talking. I'll Google.
Double check. I think you're right though, with God of War Ragnarok being the last kind of major one, which was a year ago now. So a lot of these times that they're looking to sell these games, they're not making as much of them and they're not making as much on them. Kevin, the chat, let's make shorter and cheaper to develop games. I'm serious, 100%. People are, again, throwing criticism at Spider-Man 2 that it's too short. I think it's the perfect length for a game, especially if you're looking at a 25-hour platinum, a 15 to 20-hour story. It's perfect. I can get through it in a couple weeks and move on to the next thing. I would much rather have that. Obviously, there's a place for bigger, longer games. That's fine, but that doesn't have to be the thing. We don't need to have the map is bigger. We don't have to have. There's more stuff to do every time. Court.
So it was MLB The Show is the only other 2023 release for a first party studio. Before that, it was God of War, Gran Turismo, Horizon, and MLB The Show 22.
When was The Last of Us Part 1? Last year.
Yeah, but it's not. That doesn't. So I'm getting the full list. They don't count that because it's a re-release.
It's a remake.
Yeah. So they don't count it as the last non-remake was MLB The Show 23.
And then again, that's an annualized series at this point. So that's why I kind of keep it in its own corner. So then it was God of War.
Very good though.
I'm not discounting its quality. I'm just saying that what you're getting every year with that game. That is a game that they pump out every year. So it's not a surprise there.
Yes.
Steve in the chat, quality over quantity. A 30-hour highly produced game is more valuable than a 60-hour middling game. It also helps with production cycles. 100%. 100%. But
our hearts go out to everybody. Creed Mirage, and it was very interesting that I loved it for what it was. I think it was a perfect stepping stone into making them better. They experimented, they went back and they did a smaller. I think there's a lot of things they can do better, but I thought the story was phenomenal, even though I wasn't a big fan of Bowsah, and even the ending doesn't make sense considering what I did in Valhalla. But I think it was a good start that they can do this. And Insomniac proved it. They put out Spider-Man
Miles.
and then they put out Miles Morales. I think
Mhm.
that's what we need to get to. If you're going to put out these huge games, give it time. Don't rush them, but give us something in the middle. And if they do that, I think we're going to keep the industry working more, because I think these 30-hour games will sell. It's not like, when the Order 1886 came out and everybody got all mad because they were like, it's just not as long as like
It's 4 hours long. Yeah.
What's wrong with this game? You know what? There's nothing wrong with those games. Those games are great. We need to stop looking on how long it takes you to the game. Just look at, was the story any good? Did it tell the story it needed to tell? That's it.
And I think Ubisoft did something great with Assassin's Creed Mirage by making it a shorter title and making it cheaper. If you had a wider array of price points for a lot of these shorter games, I think it would, like the industry at large, it would be a much easier pill to swallow. Now, I'm not saying that every game that's X amount of time should be X amount of price, but I think it should be something that could be that should be looked at on a wider scale. The problem is that, like, is that going to happen? I mean, we'll find out. But Court, let's hop into some questions, because we have some questions that we got to roll through here. If you want your questions on the show, let us know. Join the free Discord. We're active there. You can ask us questions. We'll bring them in. And you can go post on X each and every week. Just like Black Wyver did, who asks, question for the show: how does the Spidey trilogy compare against the Arkham trilogy, Court?
Oh, this is not fair. I feel this is a loaded question for me. I think I have to finish Spider-Man 2 first. Right now, I'm leaning towards the Arkham. Mind you, the Arkham, the last game that we got from it, I was not a fan of. I really hated the whole Batmobile combat. I could do without it. It deterred from the story, and they got crazy with the Riddler trophies. But Spider-Man might be able to beat it, and we'll see.
Yeah, for me, it's Spider-Man all day. Like,
Yeah,
I liked.
Yes.
Again, I'm biased. My favorite superhero. I love these games. I love the developer. I really enjoyed Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. I never even played Arkham Knight, because again, of everything that I heard in the combat, the Batmobile combat was like, I'll get to this eventually, and I just never did. But like, again, I'm biased here. Spider-Man's my favorite, as you can tell from all these things around me and the thing that I'm wearing. But I personally prefer the Spider-Man games. I like that the combat's more fluid. I like the stories more. I like the characters more. I like the fluidity of the traversal more. So that's, again, a personal thing. But I can understand the argument for the Arkham series. I genuinely can.
Batman doesn't have web shooters, so he can't, do that. He
just has this stupid,
literally
the little
to me,
grappling hook.
I think we're splitting hairs here on the combat, when the combat's pretty much almost the same.
Nope.
It is. Okay.
Spider-Man's is better.
Okay.
More fluid, more aerial. Yep.
It's because they're different people. Anyways.
Ash_Trobot writes in and says, are Insomniac the greatest developer at the moment?
In the PlayStation? Actually, yeah. Well, I got to give it to Rockstar, because what they do with Grand Theft Auto, they put a game inside a game inside a game inside a game, and that game can just blossom into whatever people want it to be. But as a PlayStation studio, yes, they are the best in the staple, and that's saying a lot, considering The Last of Us is my favorite franchise. I would say Insomniac just gets it. Like Ratchet and Clank, still, it's probably one of the best games you can play in PlayStation Plus Extra right now. My daughter loves that game. All they do is make good video games. And I would say if Sucker Punch can follow up Ghost of Tsushima, then PlayStation's going to have three studs. And what they paid for Insomniac and what they bring to the table is better than anything that Xbox just bought in that Activision Blizzard deal.
100%. And the thing is, it's like, I understand the argument for Rockstar, but like, from everything that we know about Insomniac, I think the argument can be made for being the greatest developer. The speed at which they make the games without burning out their staff, without going through crunch. By all reports off the last couple of games, that was one of the running stories, is that they didn't crunch to make those games. The quality at which they make them at, the properties and IP that they have under their belt. I genuinely think the argument can be made that Insomniac is the best there is right now, in terms of, by all accounts, studio culture, by the games they put out, by the fact that we've had how many Spider-Man games, or how many Insomniac games, period, since The Last of Us Part 2. Right? Like,
Ratchet and Clank part, if people really like it, they're really gonna like some parts that are in Spider-Man 2. That's all I'm gonna say.
So that's what I mean. Like they're just moving full clip. Are there other games that are better? Sure. But can you take a look at the entire stable of what Insomniac has done and the way that they're treated their employees? I don't think
I can tell you this. I haven't finished Spider-Man 2, but it's my game of the year.
Same. Nakachaka writes in, building right off of what Court just said. Now that you've had some time with Spider-Man 2, has this game changed your personal 2023 Game of the Year? Do you think it has a chance of winning Game of the Year at this year's Video Game Awards?
It is my Game of the Year, but Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win Game of the Year. But that's just the way everything goes. Every year I pick a game that definitely isn't going to win Game of the Year. Sometimes it does. God of War, I wanted, like, sometimes it does. Artful Escape was my Game of the Year. Psychonauts 2 was my Game of the Year. But for me right now, Spider-Man 2, I haven't even finished it. And I can't stop smiling playing this game. It is just way too good. I now understand how painful it was for Steve and Riley in the 5.5-hour drive from Toronto to Montreal to not talk about this game and to only talk about it when I left the car. I now get it. I also get when we went out to dinner, how no one wanted to stop talking about this game. And then they would look at me like, can you just leave the room? It is, I'm enamored with the story and I can't get over it. It is the best thing that Sony has released for me story-wise since Ghost of Tsushima.
Dude, 100% with you. Again, I knew I was going to love this game. I didn't think it would knock Baldur's Gate 3 off the top spot for me. It has, and I'm not even done the game yet. It is my personal Game of the Year. I don't see anything else changing that between now and the end of December.
Avatar, no.
Is it going to win Game of the Year at the Game Awards? No. I think it's going to come down to between Baldur's Gate and Tears of the Kingdom. I think it's just going to be a question of recency bias and everything else around those games. I think that it's going to be a brawl between those two. Could it win Best Action Adventure? Could it win something along those lines? 100%. I think there is value here in this game, and I think for a lot of people, it will be their personal Game of the Year. I just don't think it's going to take that coveted spot. I think the year is
best superhero game ever made.
100%.
Yeah.
I just think that like this year is too stacked as a whole in terms of critical darlings for it. Like I think in a different year, I think it could win. Jaden Rose writes in and writes, "Hello, Court and Matt. I hope everything has been well with the both of you. Likewise, my friend." I think Steve touched a little bit on the...
Steve, I can admit, we're good friends.
Yeah, you're good friends. Since it's all... I think Steve touched a little bit on the haptic feedback for Spider-Man 2 a few episodes ago. Since its release, has a DualSense controller contributed to your enjoyment of the game at all? Any interesting / immersive features or functions? Ever since Astro's Playroom, which purposes to showcase / show off the hardware, I've been obsessed with the way studios choose to incorporate DualSense features into their games.
I love the web swinging. I love the fact that Sony, for some reason, and they somehow can pull it off in all their first-party games, like in God of War, you could feel it when you threw the axe, or in Horizon, you can feel it when you're pulling the bow. You literally feel the haptics every single time you're web swinging, and that's why when I do the web wing, sometimes I'm just like, oh man, I wish actually, what my suggestions is, I wish when you were flying through the air that the noise of the air would come through the speaker in the front. I will say this, there are settings that are more amazing than even the haptic feedback that you can do. So there's shortcuts. So I would suggest to everybody to go into the settings for Spider-Man 2 as soon as you're playing it, and you can actually have it so you no longer have to press pause to bring up the photo mode, because the photo mode in this game is unbelievable. You can actually make a shortcut so you can use the D-pad where you can just press it, and that'll bring up your photo mode, because otherwise you are pressing pause to take a snapshot, to do all that kind of stuff. But yes, like there are the triggers, and I almost think they could have done more. I do really like the taking the two circles and with it the R2. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to say what it's for, but making sure you line up in the little square with the circle.
Yeah. I think they've made much better use of it this time around. You can feel like the wind, you can feel the rain, you can feel the vibrations. I think they've actually done a really, really great job with using the DualSense functionality. Like Court mentioned, there's a mini game that you'll play a bunch of times where you're essentially using the haptic feedback and like the kind of pressure on the triggers to hold different things in different places. There's like especially in a point in a mission that we've alluded to that we're not going to spoil, but you can feel vibrations at a time when it's very important for you to do so. I think that they've really put a lot of love into using this thing properly. And I think it's probably one of my favorite uses of the DualSense, period.
I think the DualSense makes it so games are more enjoyable. Like,
yes.
perfect example, just recently when I was playing the Crew Motorfest, I ended up having to be able to play it also on the Xbox. So I have it on PlayStation and Xbox. There's no way that I would want to play that on the Xbox over the PlayStation because you could feel your acceleration and deceleration or pressing the brake in the triggers. Like it instantly, like I'm very confused with Call of Duty beta that I was having a lot of fun with. People are like, oh, I hate the haptic feedback. I'm like, I think that's amazing. But people hate it. And I'm like, well, I guess you don't like a version, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely keep you posted if there's anything more. But we have one last final question, of course, from the homie Steve Vigvari. Hi, PlayStation Drive, long time, first time. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did that mission ruin you emotionally? Don't spoil anything. I'm sure they were talking about the same mission as you alluded to before. I haven't played it yet, so I'm not going to comment. But there are other missions that have ruined me.
I did it this morning, like very first thing, and I put out a tweet because my daughter cried and it destroyed me. So we were playing it together and she went, what happened? And I had to explain. And then when it kicked in for her, I just lost my grandma. So like it was a lot because she got to understand what that is. So like I got to go see it through her eyes and it made her cry right before school today. And it was tough. It was tough.
Yeah. I'm very, very both looking forward and not looking forward to playing that mission, but I will keep you updated and I'm sure I'll have thoughts next week. And of course, here's one more question. How much are we all prepared to spend to see Blink-182 one more time? Too much, Steve. They just announced a new tour. They're coming back to Toronto next year. It's going to be a bloodbath trying to get tickets for that thing that aren't absurdly expensive, but we'll keep you posted. I love that album. That album's fantastic. It's one of my favorite Blink albums in a long, long time.
Very good. Yeah, I'm going to try and go to that show. But my budget is I'm not spending over $200 for a concert ticket. It makes no sense. I actually, as someone that just recently, his daughter got to go see Taylor Swift in the movie theaters. More bands need to do that because it's become a thing. Like my daughter came back from it thinking it was the greatest thing she's ever done. She was like, everybody in the theater was having a great time. So I think if Blink wants to do like hey, we'll film it and we'll put out a video, I'll definitely go see that. And then it's more affordable for people because the price of concert tickets right now is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm expecting at least $300. Steve, hit me up. Let's figure it out. If you're going, let's go together. But yeah, that brings us to the end of the show, everybody. Thank you so much for watching and thank you so much for listening. If you wanted to see and hear more of Court, where could you do that?
You can find me on Twitter at Court Lalonde or find me on Carpool Gaming on Twitter as well. Or you can catch me every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for 3 Dads and a Console.
Of course, go check out 3 Dads. Who knows? Maybe there's a soon-to-be dad that might be coming on an episode sometime in the future. We'll find out. You can also find us both at Console Creatures. Our words are there. You can find me over on X at Matt_SilverSoul. We appreciate and love you all very, very much. But of course, we have to shout out our wonderful, our incredible patrons. We couldn't do this without any one of y'all, but of course, we have to shout out our ultimate producers, as I'm very quickly pulling this up. Our ultimate producers, Robbie Bobby Miller, who you can find in the description below. He has a new list podcast. Go check that out. You can check out Tony Baker at youtube.com/quest4pixels. Jonathan Brown, an amazing musical entity. Go find his link tree at pme.jib. Lee Navarro, who is our fierce leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team. Go check him out at phoenixoverdrive.com. And of course, Trucker Sloth and the homie Cwagmire, our platinum producer, RJ Kern, and our gold members, Adam K, Anna, Awesome Dave, 1337, Bowsah, Brian Eck, Brian Reese, Cecily Carrozza, Dan and Luma, Dannohh, Drellesh, Emily O'Kelly, Hoppel, John 32, Markus O'Neill, Markus McCracken, MoSpankins, Peje EP, and Tim Aulph. Thank you all so much for your support. We'll be back next week. Keep it swinging, folks. Peace.